Hi, everybody. Let's see if I can hear myself. Sounds good. Just wait for people to file in. Nobody's coming in. Everybody having fun? Normally we have more people live this time. There must be some people watching their P&Ls out there very closely. Normally we have more than two. Anyway, I'll just wait for people to file in before I really start yapping away. Interesting. I was on Trader TV this morning, and they kind of asked me, well, how are you going to handle the open? And I said, well, for anything that I'm in, let's use an example, like Love. Southwest Air, I thought I had a really good entry yesterday. Hang on, let me get my Epic pen. I see people slowly filing in. So I was asked this morning on Trader TV, like, how are you going to handle, bad scenarios? And I've got a scenario. And what I told them was, I wanted to wait for the first 30 minutes to at least establish a 30-minute low. And then after that, I was going to put my stop in below. And I did that in Love. So out of that one. Hang on one second. All right, Patrick, what's up? SSRM, what a nightmare that thing's been to try and figure out. Strongest of the gold miners. So where I was going with that, by the way, I told them on the open, that's how I'm going to handle losing trades. Wait for the first 30 minutes. And I said, as far as buying stuff, keep an eye on the first 15 minutes. More importantly, like the sector ETF chart. Sector ETF chart was going to just basically tell me out of the gate, if something is really going strong out of the gate, it's probably going to pop up on a sector chart. And then that's what we have here in the gold miners, the GDX. You can see they just opened up insanely. Go back even longer on a 5-year. We're going to look at a monthly on these thumbnails. And you can see that the gold miners have broken out on a monthly. We don't even have to zoom out. But more importantly was kind of what I said live on Trader TV. Either one, you're underwater in a position, and that's how I was handling Love, as I just demonstrated. If you're just joining, I was long Southwest Air, and I said I want to wait for the first 30 minutes to come through, and then once the first 30 minutes have come through, I'm just going to stop out below that. And that happened to me. But I also said, if you're looking to buy things on sale, keep an eye on this sector list. And right out of the gate, first thing I saw, AG hitting high. So I'm long AG. I bought AG at the open. And I was also nibbling in some PSLV pre-market, Patrick. They gave us a gift overnight, and I was kind of lucky to just have my spidey senses on and say, this Trump tariff thing could go either way. It could be priced in, it could continue, it could reverse. wouldn't be surprised to see silver play games. So I sold my silver yesterday. Woke up, in the middle of the night and started like buying some PSLV around 11 here. So I'm pretty much flat, thinking that this was a pretty darn good gift overnight. Now let's look at gold. They're having a great day. They opened up and took off. There's a pox on silver, and I could probably spend a half an hour on what's going on here. Essentially, the banks, JP Morgan, Bank of America, et cetera, they don't want silver to go up. They've made giant bets on keeping silver down in the interest of keeping the dollar strong. And some people say for every ounce of physical silver in circulation in the market, there's 7 to 8 synthetic paper derivatives of that. And I think today it just showed its ugly effing head. There's just no reason for this logically compared to other markets and the play. So there's still a lot of manipulation going on in silver. And basically, if you're long silver, you're waiting for Superman or the SEC or the new administration to come along and expose really what's been going on over there. It's one of the most egregious paper naked short selling markets there is for many reasons, and the banks are behind it. So there's your sermon for today. It's kind of sad that you can look at gold and see gold just having a great day, and the gold miners and the silver miners for that matter, the mining stocks. AG is a silver miner. Bought some HYMC also on the notion of gold miners being strong. That one's not really doing much, but when you look at AG, you look at GDX strong, you look at the actual gold ETF itself for the commodity, and then you look at silver. It's just ridiculous. There's no reason for this other than malfeasance. All right, we got some people showing up now, which is good. You're welcome to ask questions if you want. You see a lot of red in here. Even my short squeeze trade ideas scans, they're not doing a whole lot. There's just not a lot of green anywhere. But like I said, if we go through my sector channel, which we can do, you've got gold miners up 5% from the open. I like to sort my thing change from the open on the sector views. I don't really care about change from the close. I want the market to ring and then see who's out of strongest out of the gate. Right, Patrick, I think you would admit this is just one of the most wonkiest commodities to try and get your hands around. And I feel like I got such a gift this morning. I'm not going to just scalp AG. I want to try and stick it. Look at this big old wick. You try and move it, and then it just gets pounded. Here's the actual SLV. I'm in PSLV around 11 and underwater. But not as bad as it could have been, I guess, if I had held overnight. I want to see how it closes. I want to at least give this a day. But it's just so disappointing to see the potential that silver has, but it just is being held back. All right, what do you guys want to talk about? We can talk about whatever you want. Again, I was on Trader TV this morning, the live. You can go back and look, and I was talking about our trade wave charts. One of the things I mentioned was interesting was I went to a 5-minute chart and turned on a trade wave. And yesterday, wouldn't you know it, inside of our new Market Explorer window, some people always ask, well, the trade wave is cool, but do you have any scans for it? Well, if you right click Market Explorer and go to trade wave at the bottom of the menu, you'll see daily, weekly, and 5. So if you're a day trader, this 5-minute can be interesting. Now, I didn't pull up Tesla on my own. I found it on here yesterday. These are today's ideas, but yesterday, Tesla was on there. And let's revisit what it did yesterday. Come on, Tesla. Okay, it's not in there for whatever reason. It was a buy tag, and I've got my slides. I can pull my slides up, but there's a buy tag. Okay, so maybe the 5 minutes don't go back that far. They're not going back to yesterday. So let me just do that. Let me just, for the sake of finishing a thought, let me just show you what I'm talking about. So here yesterday in Tesla, there's that buy tag right down there before it really took off. And I showed the summary table. It gave you a nice 5.7% intraday move. And the most important thing I had mentioned on Trader TV this morning when talking about this was there's the sell tag. Now, new traders, they always want to know, like, well, when do I know to get in? Well, everybody knows Tesla, and Tesla gave a 5-minute buy tag on our trade wave. But more importantly, you see this area right here? It tried to shake people out. And this is where people get frustrated because a lot of people might have gotten shaken out here. But guess what? You didn't wait for the sell tag. So if you're going to play this game, you go buy tag and then you wait for the sell tag. And in this case, the sell tag would have kept you in. And that's the hardest part of trading, is staying in a strong stock as it tries to shake you out. And so the buy tag was initiated and the sell tag kept people patient. So you start doing this over and over as a new trader, you're going to start to develop some good skills. So if you want to see what I talked about, like I said, you can go to Trader TV. Today's live segment, I'm like 15 minutes in. The Thursday guest, Andy, will do some appearances, and so will Chris. And you don't need an add-on, or you don't need an extra subscription. You don't need the premium subscription. The Trade Wave is available to everybody with a basic or a higher with a basic subscription. You're good to go. So is that just the market? Yeah, so let's talk about this here. So for me, what am I watching? Hey, Pepe. Last two trades. Yeah, thanks, Pepe. Let's try that. Let's go back and check a trade wave. Obviously, it's not something I use, and it's okay. I'm pounding the table for new users because I don't feel like I need it. I've got enough experience to see I know what I want to see, and that's what I was going to get to. But let's just back up for a second here. So when we go to trade wave, we can go to our menu and display only last two trades. Pepe is correct. So let's uncheck that. And that would have allowed me to see, ta-da, would have allowed me to see Tesla yesterday. Pepe to the rescue again. All right, there it is. That's what I was referring to yesterday. There's the buy tag on a 15-minute. Remind you, I'm looking at the 15-minute now. And then there's the sell tag. So the 5-minute was a little faster, and that's why I think you probably want to use this on a 5-minute. I'm using my 15-minute as a swing trade time frame. Thank you, Pepe. Again, this is FX. And for those that are trying, you make sure you've got to have your browser interface turned on. You should by default, and you should have the latest versions. But once you come up here to FX, you can turn that on or off and have access to the menu right there. All right, so we are in the support session, which means if anybody's been sent here, by support or had a question regarding scans or trade ideas, this is your hour. Otherwise, I just ramble. Meaning, go ahead and ask away. You got the chat window available. This is your hour. Barry's saying LHSW is another IPO. Yep. I don't know if you're in here today, Pedro, but Barry invited you to go to his live room, and he can show you how he's prepared to trade these IPOs. He's got kind of a good system over there. So, public service announcement. So I was going to make a point why I don't use TradeWave. Well, I like to just use my simple two moving indicators here. This 130, which is a 5-day moving average on a 15-minute, and my 10 SMA is all about momentum. So we opened up with downside momentum gapped this morning. and we traded lower, 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 and we basically have traded up. And what Andy and I always look for is the moment of truth here. This is where the rubber meets the road. A declining 10 SMA into a price that's trying to bounce. What you don't want to see is what I was seeing earlier. I'll show you an example in AG. AG had a big bounce early, and look what happened. It got capped. It got capped right over the head by the 10 SMA. This is why I use this indicator, you guys, because it's absolute money. It just tells me who's in control at the moment. Look at CDE, another gold miner. Oh, a full hour of selling by algorithms using this, more than likely using this indicator as their key input. Then what happens? So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. It doesn't change. I don't panic and sell. I just go, okay, all right. Sellers, you got control. You got control until you don't, which is right here. The first green candle that closes above what was prior, holding it back prior. So now the buyers are back in control. We've got the support of the SMA turning and moving up 10 candles. And ideally, I want to see this into the close. So that's what I was getting at as to why I don't use the trade wave. But I can take a look at the NASDAQ here and I can say, okay, just like the SPY, here was the moment of interest for me. This is where the market tune changed. We woke up under fear. We had a lot of fear right here. And we had some hope. And now maybe we've got a little bit of courage and conviction because we've got over 20 minutes now in the plus side of this 10 SMA. That's what I'm looking at, you guys. That's what I see, and that's what I'm talking to myself about in what's going on with the market and how things are holding up. So if this continues, and we very well could continue, and I'm already out of money. I don't have any more money to buy in my cash account, but if the brave people wanted to start taking some more chance, I've got stuff. Don't get me wrong. I'm holding on to some stuff, but we could see this, right? I literally, I just got a text from somebody that said, oh no, this is terrible news. The tariffs have ruined the market. Well, they did for the first 3 hours. But if we do turn around and continue to build on what we just kind of saw the crossroads on right here, and I'm talking ifs, if we close way up higher, it's kind of a tale of a different story. Leave that on longer. A tale of a different story, because you'll see a solid green candle popping right back up. So, what I wanted to tell the person, that texted me, I just wanted to say, maybe let's give it time. We still have half a day to trade. Let's see how the market closes. So, this crazy market can turn on a dime. Don't forget, the market has been aware of this Trump tariffs for the last 2 months. Is it priced in? Is it brought down to a level of liquidity where the bulls are saying, hey, I really like what I heard yesterday, investment in America. And that's one of the reasons I'm staying in Tesla. I'm not getting out of Tesla. Everything that was said yesterday was leaning on America for high-tech manufacturing. This is not just a car company anymore, you guys, that attracts certain mental patients to set fire to. It is a AI robotics technology company, and probably more that we don't even know about. So this one is not a trade for me. I'm sitting in this one and I'm kind of just thinking, yeah, this is one that I probably want to put in my back pocket, not really get too concerned about the gyrations of the ups and downs. What else did I pick on? Not much. I kind of focused on, like I said, some gold mining stocks from the open. HYMC. I'm going to keep an eye on this PSLV, the commodity. So let's talk about this. As I'm watching PSLV, and I was lamenting earlier why it's not going up, and that's okay. That's not okay, but it is what it is what I mean to say. I'm now saying, okay, well, so the sellers have control down here. Even after a gap down, the sellers still have control. All right, well, maybe the buyers have stepped in here, and maybe an hour from now, I might look up and I might start to see a couple of candles closing back above this declining 10 SMA. That tells me we might be stronger into the close, and then I'll switch over to the daily And what I really want to see on the daily is at least a hold and a close above the 50-day moving average, which held back here. So I'm just kind of walking you guys through my live thoughts on what I've got today. That one was coming back. I tried that one earlier and got stopped out. I wasn't getting too aggressive in too many things. I wanted to just maybe focus on a couple of things. Again, love, I got out of this one because I didn't want to take any more loss on the open. The first two candles was my low. It tried to bounce right here. I said, great. I put my stop in. We're still trading below my stop. So, I mean, I shouldn't even be looking at these trades. For those of you that don't know, every Tesla you see driving around is obviously got cameras. We've learned that. But it's watching people cross the road. It's watching people hold on to their children. And it's making a artificial intelligence database of people's nonverbal behavior. And it's turning around and uploading that into its Optimus robots for locomotion and how to avoid people, or just in whatever they're doing in general. It's just crazy how one of the technologies layers upon another one. And if you haven't heard, I've seen videos where workers are saying, I'm pulling 12-hour shifts, and then the other 12-hour shift comes in to relieve me, and all we're doing is we're making Optimus robots. I don't think people realize how far along in production they are on those things. So anyway, that's why I like Tesla. I'm happy to look at charts if you guys, so we're starting to get, maybe some turnaround here midday. If there's something, I know there's somebody out there who's sweating something. Don't mind me. I can try to, help you, tell you what to look for if something's bothering you, maybe what to hope for the close. Again, there could be a reversal moment here in the day. We panicked, the market panicked on the news on the gap down and tried to bounce, rolled over, made new fresh lows, tried to bounce, made another fresh low. That's pretty scary. So a lot of weak hands were shaken out here. But like I said, big if we can just take out highs and start to gravitate higher, they won't be able to say on the headline news tonight that the market got roiled, because the only way they could say that is if we gap down and just close on lows. And that could still happen. We could be setting up for that here midday. There's many scenarios, but what we want to see is a bounce. RL just bought back in at 201. Good for the clarification. That helps a lot. So Ralph Lauren picking a bottom here. So you're on the good side of what we just talked about, right? I mean, wow, could you imagine owning RL up here at 235 and thinking you're going home strong? This is horrible. You were given a gift this morning, and let me just say this is a good entry. I'll tell you why. I spent 4 days with Brian Shannon. I wish I was back there right now. We were skiing, some of the best spring skiing in Colorado I've ever had. And we talked a lot about the market. And one of the things that he's been reminding people as of late is definitely don't pick bottoms, but this would be picking a bottom. But it's also, or this would be picking a bottom and getting run over. But maybe right here, right? You see one green candle, maybe two green candles, and you say, I'm going to buy the dip. Well, what Brian adds to that is he says, well, you can buy the dip, but what you're probably better off doing and getting better results and getting the odds stacked in your favor is to buy the strength after the dip. And what he's doing is he's putting words to the exact same thing that I've been just talking about. The strength after the dip is when the price action on my 15-minute retakes a declining 10 SMA after all this fear, gap down, fear, selling. Is this a real bounce? We don't know. So if you guess right here, you could get slammed down. And that's why Brian says, don't just buy the dip, buy the strength after the dip. So what did you do, truth seeker? you're on the plus side of two green candles of a declining 10 SMA of something that's extremely on sale. So you kind of have your out now, don't you? I'd say a first closing candle, if it rolls back over and takes out this flattened 10 SMA, that's your out. And you've given yourself good risk, good reward, because the reward is we could look back at the end of the day and this thing pops right back up and closes at or near the 200-day moving average. And you got yourself a good entry. And those are the ones you want to try and maybe keep for a few days, because giant tail reversals in hindsight on a daily chart are pretty common. You go, oh, I wish I'd have stayed in that. So hopefully that helps kind of walk you through. You got a good entry. You did what Brian said, and I say. Technically, wait for that crossover and close of a declining major 10 SMA, which I call the momentum line. Whichever direction momentum is heading, that's the line. Okay, so getting a little bit of weakness in this. Okay, the gold miners are starting to maybe give a little bit back. TSLA just can't do anything, but I'm not giving up here. It's pretty much a flat. I'm down 2 cents in this thing when I could be down easily 60 cents. So you're welcome, Truth Seeker. Hopefully that gives others maybe confidence to ask me if they got something they want to look at. RGC's got a big float and it's green. What's going on over here? Bioscience. 37%. Ooh, float 786. This one will be a roller coaster. So when I look at these, the first thing I look at is the short and how many of it. Oh, there's only 780,000 shares. This is probably a goofy stock. On the daily, it's trying to hold up after a big run to 69, but I don't know if you play something like this, you probably got a downshift into 1/4 size, 1/3 size at least, to allow for the volatility. But, I'm just kind of picking through here. I see something green on a down day, and this scan here is full of stocks that are high short floats. SPRY, another pharmaceutical. So this is why we call it trade ideas. Ideas come to us in real time during the day. What's that? PCG? Oh, yeah. Let's take a look. That's not a bad daily chart. Strong, tight range, and we're slowly creeping out of it. Pacific Gas and Electric. Yep. Probably not a bad play. And then, the breakout point was like 1730. Let's zoom in a little bit, and I'll show you guys why I love the 5-day moving average. I've talked a lot about the 10 SMA here as momentum, but look at the 5-day. X is an amazing pivot sometimes. Look at the pivot I'm going to show. Support, support, resistance, 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 support, 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 support. That's pretty clean. So there's a reason why I only use 2 indicators, and they don't really tell me what to do. They just give me an indication of where the price is in relation to who's in control, the buyers or the sellers. And then I can base my decisions off other things. But it's a strong correlation there. And by the way, I'll give this chart to anybody who wants it. I just share it with you using the cloud. All right, Mark, DJ, Tony Dread, DVC, great trade on that one too, in a bad day. Oh, TIVC. Yeah, so 109 relative volume. Here's a stock that's not in play much, but if you'd noticed yesterday, it came into play. And a couple of scenarios here. So big green candle yesterday. If you took it home, you got blessed with a gap. And when things gap up, looks like it did run a little bit right into these moving averages. If it was me, I probably would have at least tried to sell some there. But notice how strong stocks that gap up, where do they find their footing? They find their footing right at the 10 SMA. And they ride it back up. And it got ahead of itself, made a new high, suckered people in who chase. Don't ever be the person to chase a new high. Be the person to identify a strong stock and try to lean on buying as close as you can to this moving average to give yourself the best risk reward scenario. So tonight, I'll tell you what, rarely do things go 3 days in a row for me. Seems like a day and a half. You get some really big moves, and this thing did go from way down here under 250. This thing doubled in a day. So I've noticed that just there's a time limit on how long you can expect momentum to continue. And when you look at the daily too, we ran right smack into the 250. So wouldn't be surprised to see it at least chop around a little bit. I think the best setups were the overnight setup. And then if you were watching, as it came down here close to the 10 SMA, getting these entries. Perfect circle. What's up? Been a while, I think. Wait, Patrick, here's a stock that can't get out of its own way. Nova Gold. There must be something wrong with this thing as compared to like an SSRM mining. It's almost like a hand. Look at this. It's almost like a hand pushing down on the price. Get down, pushing down the price. That's very short term, very bearish. But by the end of the day, if it goes to lows, I'll understand this thing is weaker than I would have imagined. If it finds a way to pop back above this hand that's saying talk to the hand right there, if I can get this and build into the end of the day, that'll give me more conviction. So it's not telling me what to do here. It's just kind of letting me know who's in charge and what the possible scenarios are. I'll tell you, my main account, Perfect Circle, is my 401k account, and that limits me to not being able to short and do things. So going to cash is often a good defensive play, and it's also a cash account. But one of the best things that ever happened recently was going from T+3 to T+1. So if there's stocks that I don't like, this morning there's a couple things that I look at and they say, I don't want to carry this one through the rest of the day. I'm okay turning this into cash tomorrow. I can turn around. It's like have a brand new wish from a genie. And so I'm constantly turning over cash. Now with Tesla, that's a hold. That's good. It's going to be a hold. I don't want to sell that one. I feel like this one. And what am I watching over here to make sure I'm right? Well, if I wake up one day and we've gapped down below the 20, it's no longer a hold. That means it had some bad news. And, this downtrend is continuing. So I'm kind of against the odds here. But what I am noticing is a flattened 20 SMA right about here. And that's really what I'm going to keep an eye on. If this thing does decide to roll over and close below the 20 SMA, I'll probably sell at least half, if not more. What I'm hoping for is the 20 SMA becomes the base. I'll tell you, Truth Seeker. And I'm hoping that if we can push back above and close above the 200 SMA, and even more so this 50, and maybe this, get back above 300 anytime in the next 2 weeks. That's my hope. I can be that patient. Okay, so Truth Seeker, what that means is if I've got 100 Tesla, that's $26,000 of capital that's tied up in an account. If I decided right now that I didn't want to keep 100 shares of Tesla, I know that tomorrow my buying power will increase by that $26,000. Whereas just 6 months ago, 7-8 months ago, before the regulation changed, you had to wait a full 3 trading days before you got that money back. It was a real pain in the ass. So going to T+1 has allowed cash accounts to be much more active and really pull the weeds out for me. I pull the weeds out of what's not working a lot quicker because I know that tomorrow I can turn that cash into a new opportunity. It's nothing worse than like Andy showing me a really good chart in real time and I say, I'm out of cash today. So I'm active. I hate just buying stuff and sitting and hoping. I like to keep surfing the market. Perfect circle. The rally we had for a few days had too many defensive sectors leading the rally for me to buy into the rally. So that's a good observation. Yeah, you're paying attention to, what was moving and what wasn't. Yes, Pepe T+1 has been a game changer. I literally set the fourth quarter on fire in my account because of that ability to be nimble and jump in and jump out and have opportunity. At the end of the day, that's usually what I'm doing at the end of the day. I'm going through the entire list, whether it's 4 trades or 10, saying, do I want you now the way you're looking at the close, or do I want this cash for an opportunity tomorrow? And it's usually kind of a no-brainer. If it's not looking good at the close, I want to give myself some opportunity for some fresh trades in the morning. Yeah, you know what else, Patrick? I've been pointing out to Andy too. Andy's a stalwart. He likes to trade SLV, and I like to trade PSLV. But when you look at the daily, there's PSLV, the physical, and there's SLV. In relation to the 50, SLV has a lot of work to do to reclaim its 50. Whereas PSLV, relatively speaking, the one that I think is showing relative strength based on what I'm showing you right here, this is the physical fund. This is audited. This is not a paper fund. So that's the appeal for me to want to hold PSLV over SLV. And you can just see it right there using the 50-day SMA. Let's look at this day way back here. What did SLV do on that day? It too bounced off of the 50. So very, very similar. But now all of a sudden, using that same day compared to today, it's like the market's starting to figure out, maybe if I'm going to buy silver and not own it, maybe I'd rather buy Sprott Fund than take my chances with SLV. That's what I'm seeing. It's a slow creep of kind of decoupling with more people trusting the PSLV fund. Anyway. Let's check in with the market. So typical for the 2 candles I looked at popping above. And then what happens is that hand that was holding it down, I'm talking about, it flattens out. And this becomes our needed support. So it all comes down to this today. I'm going to be watching the Qs. We need to build off of this. That's what I'm hoping for. But if we get this, then that'll change things. We've got, half a day still. Let's see what happens. There's a lot of cards to be played still until the close. But I think if the market does find a way to rally up, the headlines in the evening won't be so bad. I think the market, and I didn't want to take a lot of risk overnight. I mean, I knew that something was going to be goofy. You just don't know how goofy it's going to be and how many days it's going to take to straighten itself out and find footing. There will be some sectors that die, probably because of tariff news, and some sectors that hold up. And I'm hoping Tesla is one of them. What is the blue or purple line on your chart? Okay, so if you're talking about this one, this is my 15-minute chart. Hopefully that's the one you're talking about. NIV top. Okay, so the 15-minute chart has only 2 indicators. One, this is a 10 SMA, so it's averaging 10 candles in 15-minute periods. And that is my momentum. That is my gauge of momentum. Under rising prices, it's usually holding the price up. Under declining prices, it'll usually throw the price back down. So I'm kind of using this now to see if this current little pullback we've got holds at this level. The second one is a bit more tricky. This is a 5-day moving average. And what's a daily moving average doing on my 15-minute chart? Rather than me put a 5-day on here and have all these lines over here, Brian Shannon taught me how to code using 130 candles right there, SMA 130. So if you put 130 SMA period candles on an SMA indicator, here's my 10, it'll smooth out to be a perfect 5-day moving average because there's a 130 15-minute candles in 5 trading days. So it's kind of a hack or a cheat, if you will. And those 2 indicators alone just give me all the information that I need, as well as if I need to, I can pull this down. But as you can see, I use my single stock window to get that information. And then this information over here, we can go back farther and see if we want to look at it in a different perspective. 2 time frames in one. So I can give you this setting by just sharing the cloud with you, and this is the actual code setting. How do I use the 5-day? It's a good question. It tells me the general health. So if we go back to the NASDAQ here, it fell precipitously back here, and it's under the 5-day moving average. Anything under the 5-day moving average, the sellers are in control in my mind. It's not very healthy on a swing trade time frame. It briefly broke above and then pulled back and found support at it again. So, the buyers probably thought, hey, good, here we go. But this was a vicious gap down overnight. So we're back under pressure. We're back unhealthy. And so I would use this to say any type of bounce that we get is going to run right smack into this 5-day moving average. And that's where you'll see the selling down the road. So I'm always expecting either buyers or sellers to show up at that level. And it kind of just turns into what we would call a pivot point, where it just acts as support and resistance when you go back a few days in that perspective. IWM, same thing. It has popped back up, and you see it's holding pretty nicely here. Again, the scenario you do want to see is just more candles holding up, and then by the end of the day, people will start to say, hey, I better participate in this because this has been a pretty big sell-off, and if this is the bottom, I've got to get in on the bottom because I'll kick myself if I have to chase something tomorrow. So on a volatile day like this, we could be setting up for a reversal, but all I need to see is what's happening right here. We're either going to build on that, or what we don't want to see if we're buyers is a break of that moving average right here and selling into the close. We don't want to see that. In the last hour, if we see that, be careful. In the last hour, if we're back up here and making new highs, then you might start to see some people chase names that they've had on their wish list that they wanted to get into. So there's a lot of people sitting on the sidelines right now, just watching and waiting, and that's where you get, volatile back and forth action. All right, caught up on questions, I believe. Where is bear market territory for me? Well, we might find out. I'll tell you what. Technically, it's supposed to be a 20% call from the top, but you start to get into price action where you just feel like every single, attempt to rally is squashed, and you find yourself setting stop after stop and then just taking paper cut after paper cut as you think you got a good entry, and then it rolls back over. Now, that's been happening a lot lately. So, based on that, it feels like we're in a bear market already. And I actually discussed that with Brian. We both kind of looked at each other and said, yeah, I think we're in a bear market already. But I will say, if we can build, if this thing is in fact a bottom, we'll know at the end of the day. If this thing can build and we can get back above 480 in the NASDAQ, then we've taken out the 10-day moving average and the 20. So if we can take these two out, if we can reclaim 480, I'd say that we have a chance to dig ourselves out. It might take a while. It might take a new low before we get there, but we could go either way. But I feel like the way the trade dynamics go, get a good entry, ride a good bump, watch the bump roll over, get stopped out, take a small loss. You start doing that over and over and over, you're in a bear market. that shouldn't last longer than a few days. So, all right, quarter till. I got to leave in 10 minutes. But what that gave us was a new candle right here. So the last candle held. This is all I'm watching. This is my method. Other people do things differently. That's what works for me. So we've got a flattened momentum line. We're just literally, equilibrium. We could go either way here. You know what? We actually discussed that. He said, I'm going to expose him. He said, I actually really like the 5-day moving average, almost, if not better, but I can't really say that. But he likes them both equally. But he loves the 5-day moving average. And he taught that to me. And that's what he wrote on and leaned about and talked about before he wrote the AVWAP book. But he said, I can't really admit that, but I use it religiously. And so do I. I use it more than AVWAP because I didn't write the book. I just want to keep something simple that's always there when I pull it up, rather than having to constantly be drawing things and deleting things in different time frames. And it's just the 5-day is what it is. Now you can take Acre and VWAP, you can go off the 60, you can go off the daily, you can go off the. There's a lot of different ways you can draw it, and you start to get a lot of levels of interest. And I don't necessarily want to get too many levels of interest. Okay. Yeah, Tesla NIV top. I'm in it, and I want to stay in it. I don't want to sell it, and I've got reasons where I would sell it and why I would sell it. But let's look at what you're saying here on the daily, the 10 SMA and the 5-day. So yes, so actually we're right at the 10 SM. Okay, in the intraday, I see what you're saying. We're in a sweet spot right here. Yeah, I'm happy about that. I wanted to see this flattened 5-day moving average taken out. And more importantly, and Brian talks about this with AVWAP, using two of them together, you've got a pinch play. Well, I'm often using my 10 SMA and my 5-day as kind of my own little pinch play. And the pinch right here could have easily thrown the price to lows, and it didn't. So that tells me we got some strength, and NIV top is correct. We are currently above both and only the two indicators that I'm using. So we've got kind of a bit of a tailwind, a bit of a green light intraday for Tesla. I assume that's what you're talking about. So that makes me comfortable, NIV top. Yeah, I'm in the money on Tesla. I've been holding it for a while, and I just want to see it continue to breathe and hold good levels. The hardest part of trading is having a good trade, and you look down, you can equate a dollar value to that profit, and it's an open trade, and all of a sudden it does what it's supposed to do. It gives back a little bit and pulls back. You go, oh no, I gave money. And the hardest part is just sitting through that and just saying, I know that that's the proper path. It needs to pull back and take a breath so it can have energy to move again higher and make a higher low and make a higher high. And it's the hardest part, no matter what time frame you trade, is sitting those pullbacks and having the conviction that the final destination will show up for you. How I met Brian was on YouTube back in 2008. I was uploading videos of me playing bass, just trying to get like peer reviews, and also trading. And then it occurred to me, wait a minute, why don't I do some videos of desktop trading? So there's a couple people out there doing it. One idiot who was just obviously a scammer and a charlatan. And then this guy, Alpha Trends. I realized this guy's the real deal. He's talking good, educational, smart stuff. He's not trying to sell me anything. And so we literally kind of became friends over YouTube. And then in stock twits meetings and met in person. And, I've been out to see him 3 or 4 times now over the last 10, 12 years. So it's just funny how we met. We gravitated towards each other for kind of both being at least trying to be the real deal on doing trading, live trading, or recorded desktop trading, I should say, on YouTube early on. All right, guys. Well, I've got like 5 minutes. If anybody was sitting on a chart or a question you want to look at or some last parting thought, now's the time before I got to go. Let me check on my silver. Come on. All right. So you're telling me there's a chance. The hand that's trying to squash it is now being challenged. The price is fighting back. If I can just get one or two of these after I sign off, you guys know I'll be a happy camper if we can take out highs and at least try and put in a decent close for the commodity of silver, not to be confused with the mining stocks like AG, which is still putting up a fight there. Look at how the GLD gold commodities, it's basically telling me that the buyers are holding that 5-day moving average there in GLD for the moment anyway. That's good. The 10-day held on the daily chart. That's good. So gold has been just perfect for people who are sitting in it. Every dip is bought and it keeps moving higher, but different story for silver. Anyway, stay safe out there. Exactly. Thank you, Mike. Hey, what's up, Mike? Well, you know what? Pause. Let's look at pause. Yes, I almost bought pause. I had my finger on the trigger. I bought AG and I turned around and go, what does pause look like? And a voice in my head said, don't go crazy. It's just the open. Sit back. But notice how this intraday 10 SMA, which is what I use religiously, has just been the nemesis for pause. Price is trying to base right here. So what we need is just a little push, one good push and one good close of green above this declining 10 SMA. And that keeps pause over here above the 50 as well. So I think it's got a good chance. It's really worked off a lot of this morning here midday. It's still the strongest sector on the board, changed from the open GDX. It's got a shot. Truth seeker. All right, guys. I'm going to run, grab a quick break, and thanks for all the good questions. You'll see Andy tomorrow. And again, if you missed the Trader TV, I talk about Trade Wave. You can always scroll back on Trader TV like 15 minutes into the segment this morning. Yep. Thanks, Mike C. All right, guys. Talk to you next time. Got to go. Bye.